Tell you what, you guys will do me a quick favor before we get started here. Go ahead and tweet or Instagram or send a letter to Zevia. Let them know to hook me up. I'd appreciate that. But that's not what we're going to be talking about today. Today we are talking about the Hasselblad X1D Mark II. This is a new digital medium format camera from Hasselblad with a 50 megapixel sensor in there. And they have sent this to me to try out for a few days. They're not paying me to make the video. They're not giving me anything. They basically just emailed me and said, hey, we've done work with you in the past whenever you tried out one of our backs for the old 500 series cameras. If you want to try out the X1D Mark II, you can try it out for a few days and just share your thoughts. So I'm going to be giving you my honest, unbiased thoughts on this, who I think the camera's for, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and just how it performed for me. Whenever I try out a different camera, I basically just try to place it in my hands like I would any other camera and use it for real world use. I didn't go out and shoot any kind of like lens charts or anything like that. I just wanted to see, would this camera keep up with the kind of shooting that I like to do? And in some ways it did, and in other ways it didn't. So that's what we're going to talk about. Right off the bat, we'll talk about some of the pros, things I do like about the camera. The design and build quality are incredible. I love the feel of this camera. The design itself, it just looks incredible. It's definitely very different from pretty much any other option out there. I really, really like it. And the fact that you have a medium format sensor in there, I mean, this is a really small kind of body that you can see there. Some of the lenses are obviously pretty big. This is the 80mm f1.9, so definitely not a small lens, but this is one of the things that I think really is appealing about this system to a lot of people, and I'll get to that. But again, just the build quality and the design of the camera, it's all really nice. The interface is really clean and minimalistic. Even some of the touch features, it's surprisingly good. I usually don't like touch features on a camera. I prefer tactile buttons, but with the screen, it's pretty good. I actually don't mind using it, and again, everything is just kind of really clean and simple, which is how I like my cameras to be. As for the lenses, like I said, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that people are going to be drawn to this system for the lenses, because you have, for instance, this 80mm f1.9, which is a lens at that speed that you don't really see in a lot of competitors with their medium format lenses, full autofocus and everything. It's definitely something that's really appealing. These are amazing lenses, and the image quality in terms of the sensor and these lenses combined, it's incredible. The dynamic range is amazing. I basically just tried to use it in real world use as I was shooting here at the house with the family. I went on a hike with my wife and our son and just brought this camera along. I didn't even have a strap on the camera. I just walked with it in my hand, and it was perfectly comfortable and really enjoyable to use. Everything is really like thoughtfully laid out on the camera in terms of not only the grip but where the buttons are. It was just really user-friendly for me, so I really, really like that about it. In terms of where everything's laid out, we can kind of do a little overview here. On top, you have this little push dial, so you push in to lock it, push it in, it'll pop up, and that way you can kind of adjust between the different settings, like manual setting, aperture, shutter priority, program, movie mode, which unfortunately isn't available yet, so I couldn't test that out, but it does shoot video, it just isn't ready yet. You also have your autofocus and manual focus button on top to switch between the two. If you want to make any adjustment to your ISO or white balance, you just press this little button here, and you can either use one of the dials on the camera or the touchscreen interface, so whatever you would prefer. I like that it does give you the option. You have your play button here, you can change the display settings, things like that, jump into the menu. You can actually configure how you want your menu to be laid out, so if you want to basically set up a custom menu and access the things that you're regularly going to be needing to get to, you can do that as well. It's basically like moving around icons on an iPhone. It's super easy. And you also have your auto exposure lock and your autofocus lock here on top as well. On the left hand side, you have dual SD card slots on this top slot here. Below that, you have your USB-C port here, as well as a headphone jack and a mic input as well. The bottom of the camera has this little lever that you pull to release the battery, and you kind of have to press in a little bit to release it, and then the battery will just slide completely out. It has like a little rubber gasket around it to kind of keep it nice and weather sealed. It's very similar to the batteries on the Leica Q2 that I reviewed earlier this year as well. You got a really nice bright EVF in this camera. It didn't seem like any better or worse than any of the other EVFs that I'm used to using. It seems like pretty much all EVFs, at least that I've used, they're just getting really, really good to the point that you don't notice any kind of lag or frame drops or anything like that. So yeah, no worries with the EVF at all. And the LCD screen itself is also really nice to use. You can double tap or pinch to zoom, similar like on an iPhone, and it's nice and sharp. It's great to review photos on it. Now we can talk about some of the things that I felt didn't really hold up as well as I'd liked it to. The autofocus for me wasn't that reliable. It was either slow or it just didn't lock focus properly at all. That could be this lens in particular. I haven't tested a wide range of lenses. I've only been using it with the 80mm f1.9, so take that for what you will. I was using it in real world situations with my kids moving around and going on a walk with my family. You know, it was a little bit better with, you know, still life kind of things where there weren't anybody moving around. But again, I'm just showing what it's like for me and how I like to shoot. So if you're shooting landscapes or you're in the studio and you can either have your subject not moving and you can wait on the autofocus to lock on, or if you can just manually focus altogether, then you don't have to worry about that, and that's great, and the image quality is amazing. But for autofocus, it's definitely not there in terms of other cameras that I've used, like some of the Fuji GFX cameras or any other, you know, either full frame mirrorless cameras or even APS-C crop sensor cameras. It's just not quite as quick or reliable, but I don't think there are really many people picking up this camera to shoot fast moving subjects anyway, so just take that for what you will. While we were out on that hike, the camera did lock up on me. I'm not sure what caused it. I was just taking photos like I was the rest of the day, but for whatever reason I got an error message letting me know I needed to turn the camera off and turn it back on. After I did that, the camera worked perfectly fine. I didn't lose any files or anything like that. But still, I'm not sure what caused it. It could be just a firmware issue, as this is a new camera and maybe they're still working out some of the kinks there, but still, I thought it would be worth mentioning just for transparency's sake. And the last thing I'll mention is the cost. I guess you could consider this a con because you're paying considerably more for the same sensor as you can get in other digital medium format cameras. But this is something that I think comes down to personal preference and also lenses, because this camera and lens, the camera body itself is retailing for $5,750 and the 80mm f1.9 is retailing for $4,845. And if you don't feel like adding that up, the total for this combo right here in my hand is $10,595. And my palms just got very sweaty. No matter what way you look at it, that is a lot of money for a camera. If you are not making money from your photography, I think you can consider this a luxury item for sure. If you're making money with photography, then it can kind of just pay for itself in that way in the long run. In my case, it would be in the very, very, very long run. But still, you can get this same sensor in other cameras for a lesser price. However, you don't have access to the same lenses if you go that route. And I will say that, for instance, the Fuji GFX cameras, you can get them cheaper, but the build quality on this is far superior than the Fuji cameras. However, you can save a lot of money if you don't mind certain things like that and picking up one of the Fuji cameras. And maybe you like Fuji's colors and all of their film simulations and things like that. There are a lot of options out there. I'm not working for Hasselblad or anything. I'm not going to try and sell you this camera. These are just my thoughts on this. You know, you're looking at something that is definitely a very high quality product in terms of design and build quality and the access to these lenses, but you are definitely going to be paying for it. So that just comes down to the person. And again, I think if you are making money with your photography, then you can do whatever you want with it. But if you're not making money with photography, this is a tough sell for sure. So who is the camera really for? For me, I know that it's not really for me. It's a joy to use, and I'm thankful that I had a chance to try it out. I wasn't about to tell Hasselblad no, that I don't want to try it out because cameras are fun and I like trying different cameras, but it's definitely not for me and how I like to shoot. My subjects are often running around all over the place and I need something a little bit quicker than this, but at the same time, the price as well, it would be tough for me to justify spending that much on a camera based on the work that I do. Even though I do shoot weddings and things like that for a living, still, I don't really see this fitting into that workflow, but if you're in the studio or a landscape photographer, I think you would be really happy with the dynamic range and the image quality for sure. There's no questioning that it's incredible, but you are going to have to deal with like the slower autofocus speed, things like that. But in those kind of situations, that might not be an issue to you. So I guess that's where I think this would really be suited best, either in the studio or on landscape work. But those are just my thoughts on the Hasselblad X1D Mark II. Again, I've only had it for like 3 days, so I haven't had a ton of time with the camera, but these are just my thoughts. Again, Hasselblad asked me if I wanted to try it out, and I wasn't about to tell them no. So if you have any questions about it at all, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But that's it for today, so I want to thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.